So, my ladies who have been following me for some time, do you remember when I used to talk about not dating, right? And just knowing whether I'm connected to a man, whether I am attracted to a man. I don't need to be courted. In my opinion, courting and dating is just a process for men to convince women to be with them. The feminine is blessed with intuition. We have an inner knowing, right? This is why it's so easy to dismiss a lot of what we just know, because it cannot be proven. The proof is it's later. Eventually you will see that what the woman was saying was true, right? And so that is our way of navigating through life. This knowing, the intuition, and the goal for those who want to break the feminine is to separate her from her knowing, right? You as a woman, as the feminine, you have things in you that tells you who's the strongest and the fittest. It's just nature. But patriarchy has interrupted the process of natural selection because it needed to give the weakest a opportunity to get with women. And forewarning, those of you who are with men, you're going to start viewing them differently after you watch this video and after you consume my content, right? Because you're going to start tapping into parts of you that we were naturally gifted with to determine who should survive. Women are the prize, meaning men accomplish and do what they do for access to women, because through women their lineage can continue. It's not a legacy, right? Children are not a legacy. You leave a legacy for children. This is also going to upset men, as my content does for a lot of men. It upsets a lot of men because it causes them to reflect, right? To look at themselves and to hear and see that there are many reasons why they're not desirable, right? Money, that's a very small part of it, right? Because the thing is, if you strip all of the things men work for and you just look at the bare bones of men, you're taking your feminine knowing and looking at men. Most men are unattractive because most of them should not have even made it to this realm. A lot of what are the disqualifiers for men is genetic makeup, right? And when I talk about this, this offends men because, especially black men, they hear like the annihilation of race and, eugenics and things. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about natural selection. Very few men that are walking the earth today should be walking the earth today. I'm not calling anything to happen to anyone. None of that. I'm just bringing your awareness, because when you start to ascend, you're going to start to see that less men are attractive. Just based on them alone, their biology, their genetics, who they are as people, they're not attractive. And when you are not attracted to them, when those men are unattractive, it lessens their chances to extend their lineage. Insert Passport Bros here. Insert the podcast fellas here, right? Again, strip away all of the things, right, that men can do and accomplish to be appealing to women. This is why criminals tend to be attractive to women, right? And I'm not saying that you should deal with criminals or, the menaces to society, right? Because men also hear that. Anytime I talk about this, I can tell who the weak seeds are because they think I'm talking about dealing with criminals, drug dealers, and such. No. But the average man is a square. He's a corn. He's corny. He's goofy. Not because he's intelligent and educated. Like that's the route men go to, because they know they're weak. And a lot of them are compensating for being a weak seed by being accomplished in life. Being accomplished and having money doesn't make a man, because you can have all those things and still be a weak seed. Again, most of this is just genetics. It's nothing they can do about their genetic makeup. A few years ago, I asked women to, as they go throughout their day, to count how many attractive men that they see. And someone just told me the other day, since I gave that challenge, they cannot unsee how unattractive most men are. Again, it's not just physical. Physical helps a lot. I don't know why men think they don't have to be attractive, physically attractive. Why are you a fat man? Why do you have childbearing hips? Why are your knees bad? Right? That comes with age, but a lot of men are just out of shape, weak. Can you run? Right? What will happen if you have to fight for your life? Is somebody gonna overpower you and beat you up because you ain't do a push-up in 15 years? Men are supposed to be strong, right? They talk about being protectors and providers. Their bodies show that they can't even protect themselves. But women intuitively know these things. And so when a woman eventually dislikes a man that she's with or no longer wants to be with him or starts to want more, I believe it's because that man's genetic makeup was never what she thought it was to begin with. This is where the dating and courting and all that shit. They need you to do all of that so they can convince you to be with them. There are some men, and it's very, very few walking this earth, that you can just look at and say, that's good stock, right? Now, I'm not saying we should breed people. I'm not saying any of that, right? But again, a lot of this is just genetic makeup. Those men cannot be taught certain things. So they have to compensate, right? And there will be weak women who will breed with them, who will align with them. But I'm speaking to, again, as I say, a very specified niche of women. So the higher you ascend, the less men are attractive to you because you are tapped into your femininity, not the shit that weak men created to make you be docile. No, you tap into your natural survivor feminine instinct, and you will start to see who's weak genetically, biologically, and who's strong. And it's very rare that you're going to cross paths with a man like that. Very rare. And this message is going to send the weak seed in a frenzy. They're going to go crazy. They're going to be in the comments going off, especially on YouTube, because those men are fighting for their lives, literally and figuratively, which men are supposed to be doing. But because weak seed genetically, biologically are getting access to the prize, which is women, their survival instincts are off. So when men say, we built the world, no, very few men built the world for most men to survive in it. When we get back to natural selection, most men will not be chosen. And women. This doesn't eliminate women, but we're not talking about women now, right? Because ultimately, even weak women can still benefit, right? Now, the strongest and fittest men, if they were wise, they wouldn't share their superior seed with weak women planted in a weak womb. They won't, but men are still men, and a lot of men need weak women. Men keep certain women around because they're mindless and weak, and they feed a part of the male ego. I only feed the male ego who has a warranted ego. The weak seed, they're very uncomfortable around me. They don't like me. Men are my ops too. It's not just women. It's the weak seed that hear that, hey, she's going to interfere with me extending my lineage. There are a lot of men on the internet. When I look at them, I can just look at their body, listen to how they talk, their tone, how they speak about women. They're weak seed. They're genetically weak. It's their biology. And it's not just the men talking down on women, it's the panderers too. Don't be fooled by them. That's that courting and dating bullshit that they want to appeal to the female ego. So this is really deep. You don't need all of that to recognize the superior masculine. Animals and so they don't do that. They don't date in court. They just know where the superior male is. We're humans. We intellectually beat them, right? So you mean to tell me we can't do that too? But they convinced you to not do that, because if you do that, most men will be rejected. And I'm telling you, I see this in real time. Just being out and about in the world, I can look at a man and tell that his mother and father were weak, or his mother or father that allowed weak seed to mix with their DNA. Now, again, my standard, right, of men is unfair to most men. I'm speaking to the rare men, the rare men that are genetically superior. And I'm not just talking about white men, because that's what black men hear, and that shows me where a lot of them are mentally. Because when I start talking about them, they think that I'm speaking down on them, because those are the genetically inferior fellas, right, that were allowed to be in this realm that shouldn't have been. You will just know. Just like it's rare to see a really attractive man or a really tall man, right? Look at men. People's bodies are out of shape just overall. But as a man who's supposed to be a protector, why is your body broken down? Why is your body overweight? Why are you consuming so much food and things that destroy your body? What do you think is going to happen with his seed? And you're allowing, even if you don't have children from him, you are allowing his DNA to mix with yours every time he inserts himself in you. This shit is really deep. And you can sift through who these men are without allowing them to woo you and trick you into being with them. But they don't want you to do that. They don't want you to look at them and say, nah, I can do that. Most men will be rejected. And then it'll be maybe one or two men, then it's like, that's good stock. And it's not just physical, it's intellectual. Like, a lot of shit is just genetics. Things you can't teach. Things that just are in you. And many men don't have it in them. They're not the strongest and the fittest. Right? As soon as you start tapping into that feminine instinct, that real femininity, you're going to start seeing a lot of men for who and what they are, which is weak.